Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Across STEM with YSI Season 2, where we sit down with the incredible speakers of STEM Quest 3.0 to explore not just what they study, but how they think, question, and shape the world through STEM. I'm your host, once again, Amir Ali, and today's episode takes us somewhere a little less concrete into the spaces where perception blurs, reality bends, and the brain quietly fills in the gaps without us noticing. So, our guest for episode 6 today is Uzra, who is joining us from Dubai. Uzra is a biomedical science student at the University of Birmingham, Dubai, and is also a director of STEM outreach at U STEM Initiative. Alongside her academic work, she's deeply invested in science communication, and she believes that understanding the brain isn't just about mapping structures or memorizing pathways, but about asking how we experience the world moment to moment. Uzra recently presented at STEM Quest 3.0 with her session titled Inside Your Limits, The Neuroscience of Dreams and Illusions. In her talk, she explored a fascinating idea that the brain doesn't simply observe reality, but actively constructs it by looking at dreams and sensory illusions, moments where perception loosens its grip, really. Uzra showed how prediction, imagination, and consciousness all shape what we believe to be real. It was a session that made many of us pause and question just how much control we actually have over our own perceptions. So, today, in the sixth episode of season 2 of Across Time with YSI, we'll explore Uzra's journey into the biomedical sciences and neuroscience, her interests in altered states of perception, and how her work in outreach and communication connects to making complex ideas about the brain understandable, engaging, and relevant. So, Uzra, welcome to Across Time with YSI. How are you doing today, and where are you joining us from?
Thank you so much, Amir Ali. I am doing great today. I'm super excited for the podcast, and I'm joining from Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Yes.
I know it is late there, late night, but I'm glad that you could join us still for this
Mhm.
podcast. So, to begin with, what originally drew you toward biomedical science and neuroscience? Was there a point where you realized you were especially interested in how, let's say, the brain shapes experience rather than how it functions biologically?
This is a quite a long story actually. So when I grew up, actually, I was completely drawn towards biology from the start. So this would be maybe even first grade. I was particularly interested in, the sciencey, part of my studies, and that could literally be like photosynthesis or like, plants or whatever. And the more I grew up, the more I learned. I felt like I was drawn towards biology. So I always knew that I'm going to be doing something that's in the field. And it also helped that I was really bad at maths. So so it kind of played into why I enjoyed biology so much because it was the only thing I was good at. And even in high school, I kind of was sure that I'm going to do something within biology. And ultimately, that kind of translated into doing medicine. Okay, so because that was the only thing I knew of back then, I thought biology, so you become a doctor. Okay, and the more I learned and the more I studied, I kind of became sure that I wanted to be a doctor. But at this point, it's very important for everyone to realize that I didn't really know what it takes to be a doctor, right? And when I graduated high school, I was still living in this bubble of like, oh, I can just do a 6 year degree and then I'm a doctor and I can help people all day and I'll be in the hospital and I'm gonna live my fantasy. But like, yeah, I it was completely bursted as soon as I came out of uni. I mean, out of school, and I had a gap year, and in the gap year, I actually looked into what I wanted to do. And I know that I'm super driven by science. I'm driven by anything biology, anything about the human body. And I know that what I would want to do in the future would align with that. But I didn't want to be it in a patient facing career. And that's when I realized that I'm so passionate about research. And hence, the only right answer for me to do anything in life is go into biomedical research and biomedical science. And that's when I chose it as a degree. And after my gap year, I applied to quite a few universities, all of them were biomedical science. I had zero backup options, and yeah, I just was sure that I'm gonna probably get in one of those. And yeah, I started my degree, and that was like just a turning point because now I'm so in love with it. And a lot of people might be so sure that, hey, I know what I'm gonna do, but I did not realize until I stepped foot into my degree. So I think that's a good learning lesson for everyone, yeah.
Yeah, you realize that it's a much longer, tedious path than you imagined at
Yes,
first.
yes.
And you're studying it at the University of Birmingham in Dubai,
Yep.
but
Hmm.
it's is it like a branch of the University of Birmingham in England? Is that how it works?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And you actually have an exchange year. So next year, I can choose to go to the UK and finish my third year and write my thesis there. And then you can also get into master's, but of course, you'd have to apply for that. But the degree is the same. So you're getting the same degree here and in the UK.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I love that. Um, I love when I see like a university from somewhere else has programs in another city or country, because you also have then students from other places
Hmm.
being part of that university technically, and then it also has those opportunities like being able to study abroad. For instance, if you can go to the UK next year, I think that's a fantastic opportunity to also live and study abroad, and experience what it's like going to university somewhere else as well. So yeah, that's very cool. The kind of university you go to. Now, let's talk about more of your STEMQuest 3.0 talk. So can you tell us more about it, about your talk, Inside Your Limits, the neuroscience of dreams and
Yes.
illusions?
Yes, perfect. So when I was invited for STEM Quest 3.0, because I already did a talk the previous year, I was like thinking really hard on what my topic would be. And I did a lot of research and I wanted to have something that's interesting for the students itself, right? Because they are high school students and they're listening to these people speak on and on for 1 hour. So I wanted to make sure that it's something that they would enjoy. And the illusions and dreams are something we quite often think about, but we don't really know how they work. So, as a biomedical science student, I actually get the privilege to know what these things mean and what these things signify in our brains. So, that was the inspiration behind it, and I felt like it would be a good connection and a good starting point for these students to gain an insight towards neuroscience because that's something I'm deeply passionate about. And yeah, so that's when I created my talk. And in the talk, it talks about REM sleep, non REM sleep. It talks about why we dream. And one of the main reasons is because it takes in memories from all your experiences in the past and it rewires connections in your brain. And those ultimately lead to piecing together of like puzzles. And that creates a unique dream. So you might think you've never experienced it before, but you've actually experienced a lot of those spots, but in different scenarios, in different timelines, in different, parts of your life. So yeah, that was really interesting to talk about. And even the illusions, I had a great time with the students where they would tell me that about the illusions they've experienced in their, with their own eyes. And yeah, it was wonderful. And we talked about deja vu and where we explored how we feel like we've experienced something but we actually haven't. And yeah, it was great. I had so much fun, and like always the students at STEMquest are so kind and so welcoming. So yes, that was mainly it.
That is fascinating. And it's an area that I want to explore more. I mean, I
Mhm.
study neuroscience, but I haven't really studied or learned about um, the perception of dreams, how your brain just constructs reality out of simply nothing. Um, and I'm wondering, I mean, based on what you researched for this session, when someone says, the brain constructs reality, what does that actually look like in everyday life? I mean, outside of dreams, um, how is it that your brain is just constructing the reality around you?
Uh-huh. So this is actually quite fascinating, but we would think that our brain is sort of like a recorder, right? We would think that, oh, it looks at something and you go like, oh, it's there, right? But More than that, I do agree with the notion that, oh, by the way, this is a theory, but I would agree with the notion that our brain is more of a prediction machine. So, what it does is that it tries to make connections, it tries to recall before it actually happens. All right. So, for example, now you have a pillow on your bed and you see it every single day. So now your brain knows that it's there. So without even looking at it, your brain constructs that it's there. So sometimes the pillow might not be on the bed, but you might still feel like it is because that's what your brain has been seeing. So that's what it predicts, right? And because of these habits, your brain starts constructing patterns or constructing things that you're used to. And ultimately, it creates memories that might not have happened. And that's kind of the mechanism behind deja vu as well. So it's patterns, it's learning, it's constant learning actually, and it's constantly evolving. And that's sort of the idea behind how our memories might sometimes not even be true.
Very well said, very well put. And maybe that can be the topic of your next STEM Quest talk.
Yes, I'm so
How
excited already.
your brain, yeah, constructs your perception of reality and everything that you see and feel and hear and everything around you. Um, so dreams, I mean, they they played a central role in your session in STEM Quest. And when we're dreaming, the brain really creates entire worlds without sensory input.
Yep.
Just so strange to me. I mean, what do dreams reveal about how perception and consciousness operate without the, when the constraints that you typically have, I mean, in reality, are removed?
Mm-hmm. So, so you usually have certain key memories, right? And you remember these throughout your life. But you also have memories that you might not even recall. You might not even know that you've experienced, right? And while you're asleep, your brain is constantly working. It never goes to rest. It actually works more when you're asleep, and that's why you need such a good night's rest. And during it, it rewires, it creates more connections or synapses, and it keeps firing, and multiple memories come together, and it takes certain key memories and takes certain memories that you don't even know existed, and ultimately it creates a illusion, it creates a movie like scenario in your in your head. And I think that's so fascinating because you really don't get to pick and choose, right? You can't go to sleep thinking, oh, I want to dream about this today, but you realize so much from them. Like you gain, some people even dream about things that they've not experienced before, and they might be meaningful to them. They might dream of a loved one that they haven't thought about a long time. So it really is so fascinating. It's so nice and so interesting to see how dreams can play such a big role in your life without you even realizing it. And that was kind of the inspiration behind the whole session itself, and I'm so glad that we get to talk about this as well.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. Like you don't think about what you want to dream about. It's really out of your control. Um, and it's something that, yes, constructed based on uh, experiences you've had, memories that you've made. The thoughts that you have on a daily basis could influence that. You could dream about things that maybe you've thought about and desire, and then your brain makes that seemingly a reality. Um, Sometimes like you're dreaming about something that could really be a dream come true in reality, but then
Exactly.
the dream stops and you're like, no, it was only a dream. It's really funny. Like it's like your brain is playing with you and creating this kind of illusion that many times, I mean, often when you are in a dream, you don't realize you're in a dream. You think it is
Right.
reality until it ends, and you realize, oh, you're just sleeping in your bed. So it's fascinating how the brain does that, and I think dreams could unlock a lot of information and discoveries about consciousness, which is a
Hmm.
topic I'm really interested in, and a lot of people are today because we don't know exactly still what it is. Um, Now, now this brings me to the next point, which is about sensory illusions. Um, and sensory illusions, they're like moments where the brain's predictions become visible.
Hmm.
In your eyes, why do illusions matter so much in neuroscience, and what do they teach us about the limits of perception?
Right. So I would say on all of us experience small illusions, right? They could be grounded in science, they could be physical or physics based illusion that we see maybe on the road. Have you, sorry, ever seen a mirage, you know?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so that is an illusion that we see based completely on physics. And there are certain illusions that our mind completely makes up. The pillow example I was talking about earlier, even deja vu, and these really tell you so much about what is real and what is not. But at the same time, they really don't. And that's the beauty of it. And I would say illusions really become implicated, or the why we need to study these so badly is because of disease, right? Because there's a thin line between, again, what is real and what is not. And it's very hard for us to pinpoint at what point, at what a line, or what particular boundary that someone becomes unstable or stable with their perceptions, right? Because someone could be experiencing an illusion and we wouldn't really know, and it becomes very important and very clear that it's a place to study. It's a field of area to study and to specialize in to understand diseases. Okay, and we might feel like somebody's completely normal, but they might have illusions on a daily basis, and that can affect their mental capacity, right? And by having a more grounded research in the case of illusions, I think it would pinpoint a lot more symptoms and a lot more mental disorders than we would even realize. So that's one area that I would really stress this topic.
Thank you for your insights on that. I think it's really fascinating, illusions as a whole, and when it comes to neuroscience and why we perceive illusions, um, illusions that are created by physics, like the mirage, or illusions that our brain itself creates, like the dreams themselves, they're an illusion, and how our brain gets tricked by that essentially. It's just so fascinating and shows how, I don't know how to describe it, maybe naive the brain is, how
Exactly.
easily it can believe in things and how easily it can get tricked and also trick yourself, like, or itself. Yeah, it's wow. I mean, we could talk about this all day, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um,
I can really tell that you're a neuroscience student. Like, this is
yeah,
exactly how I feel speaking to someone as well who's really interested in neuroscience.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I mean, there's the curiosity never stops, really. But I'm gonna ask, okay, one more question related to this topic, and I want to know your thoughts on it. So many people assume that the brain's goal is accuracy.
Hmm.
That's just an assumption, really, because from your perspective, let's say, is the brain more concerned with being correct? Because a lot of the time it really isn't.
Right.
Or is it more concerned with being efficient and functional?
Hmm. I would say efficient and functional, because the brain, I think, is trying to. Honestly, I think it lies between both. That's a really good question. Because while it's trying to be efficient and functional, why? I think it's because it wants it to be correct. So, yeah, I think more than that, I think the brain just wants to be comfortable. It wants to sense patterns. It wants a set rhythm. And when there is a slight deviation, I think that's when we all start panicking and we think that it's the end of the world. And I think the reason behind that is because the brain is so used to patterns and it's so used to prediction. And I think mostly I would incline towards it being more trying to be more efficient and trying to learn every day from these patterns and trying to perfect those connections and those signals that it sends to all the parts of the body. But yeah, it's a really interesting question. I would definitely have to look more into that. But for now, my stance would be towards efficient and functional for sure.
Efficient and functional. But yeah, I mean, you had a good point when you said it could be somewhere in between because it's trying to be correct at the same times, but I mean, it's not correct a lot of the times. Um, Yeah, but I can see how the brain would want to be more efficient and functional. It's been designed to be more efficient and functional
Mm-hmm.
and to maximize its capacity from the folds in the brain to just a incredibly high density of neurons. And I can go on and on about this. We have to move on to actually talking more about yourself because
Mm-hmm.
we've spent a lot of time talking about the brain. But if to the audience, if you haven't watched Uzra's talk at STEMQuest 3.0, make sure to watch it. It'll be linked in the description so you can learn more about the neuroscience of dreams and illusions and all of that amazing stuff. Uzra, let's talk about yourself more. Tell us more about your biomedical sciences studies at the University of Birmingham in Dubai.
It's so fun. That's one word that I would use. It's so incredibly fun. Every single day I enter, people hate going to uni or their education institute, but I
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy it so much. And I feel like I'm such a nerd when I say this, but I love it. Every single day or every single lecture that I attend, I only learn more. And I think it gives me such fulfillment because that's something I'm so passionate about. So I'm so grateful that I chose the right path, right? And in my degree, I learned a lot about neuroscience, and that's actually my favorite module out of all of them. And I learned a lot about the heart, a lot about the muscles. I learned a lot about just the developmental biology, so how we began and how we are now. And yeah, it's great. I have multiple research assignments that are going on right now, and they're all extremely interesting. And one of them that I'm currently working on is actually, again, a neuroscience based project. I just keep going back to the brain. But yeah, it's a business proposal actually. And it's based on delivering, I'm pretty sure this is going to sound gibberish to the audience, but delivering CRISPR to edit genes. So CRISPR basically cuts off the bad genes, and it allows you to remove certain genes that are responsible for hereditary diseases, right? Or even other general diseases. So I'm researching on using CRISPR to edit genes that are responsible for Alzheimer's disease. And I'm going to do that with an AI model that allows you to create the correct sequences and the correct delivery structure to get this CRISPR to the brain, because we have something called the blood-brain barrier, and that kind of limits a lot of things that we can do with our brain. So yeah, so that's something I'm super interested in right now, and that's something that's ongoing, and I'm really excited to see what this research has in store for me.
That is so fascinating. CRISPR, I mean, it's this emerging technique, and you're exploring how it can, you said alter genes in the brain,
Yeah, it's
right?
altered genes in the cells, yes.
In the
Altered
cells,
genes in the brain, yeah.
and you're trying to design it in a way that can cross the blood-brain barrier and
Exactly, which is
get
a
rid of.
challenge. Exactly.
Wow, that is some very fascinating research. I mean,
Mhm.
I would want to learn a lot more about it. So if you could share it with me later,
100%, yes.
that would be great. But yeah, it's so fascinating because as uh, studying biomedical sciences, like you said, you're learning about neuroscience, about the hearts, muscles, everything. Like it's a very it's all of medicine really, and the research that you do in it is so fascinating because you explore things on the molecular level, exploring how you can design molecules or you can design certain tools that are able to surpass barriers to treat disease. I mean, that is so fascinating to me, like what you're doing with trying to cross the blood-brain barrier, um, and edit genes in the cells of the brain. That is next level. So, yeah, I would love to learn more about that. If you could share with me, I would love it. But it's some really cool research, and um, I can see why you love going to university and why you find it so fun, because that
Yes.
does sound really fun. But it must be really complex. I mean, do you think conceptually learning about these things, in university, um, how much of a jump would you say is it from high school? Because in high school you don't go this deep into
Hmm.
biology or any science, but now in university you're literally doing research, uh, futuristic research really, on CRISPR and neuroscience, the confluence of them. Conceptually, is it difficult? Do you have to read a lot about this and research it to understand what's actually happening and how, for instance, you can cross the blood-brain barrier?
I would say yes, because in high school you don't really, have a lot of experience in research as a whole, right? You're too busy studying, you're too busy trying to pass your exams. And when you get to university, I think university does a good job at like getting you within the zone gradually. I think we have a good, shift. But the problem is you don't really know when the shift happens. You're kind of left a bit clueless at some points in time. Of course, you have in my university, I have wonderful professors that helped me along the way. But at the beginning, I would say that I was quite clueless with how to go about the content because it's so content heavy, especially biomedical science. And because of that, very early on, I was told that you need to be reading papers, you need to be reading articles, you need to be studying every day. And that was quite heavy. But ultimately, I think if you're really passionate and if you're really dedicated to it, I think you get into the flow. But it does require a lot more effort than high school. It is quite hard, and I think if you don't enjoy it, there's really more stress that's generated against it. But for me, at least, I felt like engaging in extracurricular activities, right? So, for example, Youth STEM Initiative or even a internship would really give me the insight or give me the extra reassurance that I needed that I'm okay, I'm doing the right thing, I'm on the right path. Because while researching for those things, when I enjoyed them, it kind of fulfilled my, doubts that, hey, am I doing the right thing? So I think it's very important for you to understand whether you're in the right path because if you are, and if you truly accept that, I think you're perfect already and you don't really find it difficult to put in that extra effort.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really glad that you're enjoying university and the point you brought up about extracurricular activities, it is so important. I think it's not just about your studies in university, it's also what you do outside of it in, getting involved in communities like Youth STEM Initiative, doing internships. Um, Speaking of internships, actually, you were a laboratory management intern, is that
Yeah.
right? At Labware?
Yes. Yes.
And that was pretty recent. It was just last year. I think it ended in September. So tell us more about that experience. How was it interning
Yeah.
at this place?
This was actually such a last minute internship. So when I again got into universities, when I was telling you guys about how it was like a very fast shift, and during that phase, all of our professors were kind of telling us or nagging us, I would say, hey, get an internship. It's very important. You need that experience. And so that's when I kind of understood the gravity of it because before that, I was never really introduced to that concept, right? In high school, that I need to get internships, I need to gain experience. So when that responsibility was like kind of kept on my shoulders, I was like, okay, I need to find something like now. So I started like cold emailing a lot of STEM-based companies in the UAE. And at the beginning, I was super enthusiastic, so I would research about all of them. I would know exactly what they do, and then I would perfect my email and I would send it to them, and I wouldn't get a response at all. So ultimately, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna email all of them, and then I emailed a bunch, and one of them very fortunately responded, and they said that, hey, we'd like an interview. And this was my first interview in my life. And I gave the interview. I did absolutely terrible. I don't know how I got the job, but they told me to join, and I was like, okay, amazing. This is great. I need to go. And little did I know that internship literally changed my views of what I want to do with my career, right? And in the internship, so basically, Labware is a company that has a software called LIMS. And LIMS is a laboratory management software. So it helps scientists like myself, an aspiring scientist, keep track of everything that goes on in the lab. So that could be with your samples, that could be with your experiments, that could be with your inventory, it could be with the results, it could be with your clients. etc., etc., etc. It does so much, and it aims at maximizing the efficiency within the lab. So my job within the internship was to get the data from all of the clients and to sort the data and put them or kind of log them within the system itself, right? And in doing so, I got to access a lot of classified data from labs across the world, and it wasn't just biological labs, right? It would be even petroleum labs from, for example, Saudi. It would be IVF lab from India. It would be so many different kinds of laboratories because they all use the same system to keep in track of their cycle within their laptops, right? So it's crazy. It was crazy to me to see all of that information just readily available in my hands, and to see all of these experiments being taking place all around the world that I could access. And that made me realize how much I was interested in analyzing this data. And that's when I got into something called health data science. And in that internship kind of shifted my focus from just neuroscience to health data science in neuroscience. So yeah, it was really a wonderful internship. I learned so much from the people there, and you get to really see how people work not just in their subject of expertise, but also as a team, right? And it's so important to realize that so much goes on behind the scenes, and so much effort is put in, not just within their work individually, but also as a team. And yeah, I had so much fun on that internship, and yeah, the people there were so hardworking, and that inspired me on levels greater than just the data science. So yes, that was amazing.
That is so cool, and that you had access to all the the classified data from labs across the world.
Exactly.
Um, that's incredible. I mean, you could have done some evil stuff, but it sounds like a really cool experience at uh, this firm, and being able to, log all the data, and which is a big part of experiments and working in a laboratory setting, and you were playing a really big role. Um, so yeah, it's great that you got this uh, opportunity to work at Labware, and I hope to see. I'm excited to see some of the other internships that you get involved in, and I'm sure that you will. Keep cold emailing, yeah, keep getting involved in more labs because, yeah, it's that experience is just so valuable. It goes way beyond what you study in university, and you get so much hands-on experience that you would probably never get at university alone. It's
Hmm.
just a way to build skills really effectively in a real world environment where you literally you're working in a real lab, it's not a simulation or anything, um, and you're contributing to real research. And at the same time, you have access to classified data from around the world. Around the world.
Exactly. Another thing I wanted to add was without cold emailing or without that first step, I wouldn't even know as a biomedical scientist that this field would be such a good fit for me, right? Like, because I was so involved with my degree, and my professors told me to take that extra step, and I got into the internship, which was something that I wouldn't necessarily study about in my degree. Crazily enough, now I'm into that. Now I'm completely driven or career focused into that field, and that would have never happened if I did not get that internship. So yeah, that's what another thing that you were just saying, and I would like to reinforce, is that get into all of those extracurricular activities, because you never know what changes your, entire focus. So that's something that happened to me, and I think that's really a lesson.
Definitely. And don't be afraid to reach out. I mean, you were cold emailing and you spent a lot of time crafting the email, making it really good. But just the nature of cold DMing, cold emailing is that most of the time, maybe even 99% of the time, you might not get a response.
Hmm.
You have to email sometimes 100, more than 100 people to finally get a response. I mean, a lot of them, they either don't respond or they say they're not looking for applicants or anything. Um, so just keep trying. Don't, if you cold email like, I don't know, 15 people, that's most of the time, I think you still won't get a positive response from cold emailing 15 people, even though it's quite a lot still, but just the nature of cold emailing is that most of the time you're not going to get desirable results. So you should just keep trying, and that shouldn't, uh, the rejections or, you know, hearing that they're not looking for any applicants, whatever it is, or if they don't respond, like that shouldn't stop you from cold emailing more and more people. At one point, someone will say yes, someone will invite you to an interview, and you could, get involved in their lab, and that could change your life potentially, your career. So, yeah, just do not give up with cold emailing. That's one of the things I think where giving up is common because of
Hmm.
the nature of it, but do not cold email as much
Exactly.
as you can, like you did. So let's move on to a more non-scientific area, actually. So you were also involved in speech and debate, or you
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
still involved in speech and debate, right? And you were the co-executive and now vice president of your university's speech and debate society. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what got you involved in speech and debate, and what is it like, being a leader in that society, and what do you do as one of the leaders of it?
Right. So speech and debate, right? I've always felt like I was an extrovert. So I always wanted to refine my skills in speaking and public speaking because something kind of held me back from public speaking, but I used to yap a lot in general. So I was like, what's holding me back? Let me find navigate through this. And when I started university, there you literally get hit with like 100 clubs, and there's like so many, and you don't know which ones to join. Sometimes you're in the WhatsApp groups for like 60 of them, and that was me in the first year. And during that phase, I realized how important it is to communicate as a biomedical scientist, right? And I was already facing the dilemma of yapping but no public speaking. So I was like, let me get into a club that allows me to kind of refine these skills. So I attended a few of their events and I really enjoyed them. And it was more communication based, it was more, trying to up your skills because a lot of the people there were exactly like me. There was no one who was, at their top game, and there was no one who was just starting off. Everyone was in between trying to find their place. And that's what got me into the club. And TEDx was coming up, and there were positions open to organizing TEDx. And TEDx is something I've actually watched ever since I was like in high school. I really enjoy TED Talks. I think it's such a creative way to, you know, um, gain new perspectives, right? And that I feel like they're incredibly personal, even though sometimes they might be very scientific or very niche. They're very incredibly personal to the person itself and to the person delivering the TED talk. And when I found out that the university just got their TEDx license, I was like, okay, I need to be a part of this. Initially, I wanted to be a speaker, but when the opportunity came up to help organize the event itself, I felt like it would be more in line for me to be part of the event in such a way that I could contribute to many people trying to spread their ideas. And yeah, it was amazing. I got to organize the entire event with my team members. It was a wonderful event. The theme was vitality. So it was what is life, right? So what gives you life and what's your passion? And through that, I met some incredibly incredible people, and they were multiple students, they were industry speakers. And yeah, it was so fun. And apart from that, Speech and Debate actually organizes events that are quite fun. They allow you to ease your mind, they allow you to speak up. We have my favorite days, which are called hot take days. So we all just gather up in a room and we have certain hot takes, and they could be funny, they could be controversial, they could be political. And yeah, we just have debates, we just talk. And I think that's such an important and essential part of university, because not just expanding your perspective but also making such good friends, right? And I felt like that was my point where I was like, yeah, I need to stay within this club. It's such a nice environment to be in, and such a nice discussion to be part of. So that was the main premise, and then ultimately I climbed my way up to vice president. And yeah, I'm really enjoying my time there.
Incredible. Wow. This is like the more extracurricular side.
Right.
And it's cool that you've been involved in debate and also in TEDx. And TEDx is really one of those amazing experiences where I think if you can get involved in it, whether to speak at a TEDx event or to, organize one, be part of the leadership team, take it. Don't hesitate for a single second, especially if you love TED Talks like you, like me. And a lot of universities I've seen they have TEDx. So it's a great way to get involved and um, you never know, one day you might be speaking at a big TED conference um, alongside some of the world's most influential, famous people. So, um, yeah, it's cool that as an extrovert, you took advantage of that and um, you joined all these societies that where a lot of talking is involved, a lot of stuff like hot takes are involved.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a nice way to get involved in something that you're passionate about, and that doesn't have to necessarily be related to what you study. It's outside of your academic studies. So again, if something like TEDx is at your university or is somewhere local, get
Mhm.
involved in it. I think it's one of the best opportunities to get involved in something that's impactful and that can really have an effect on the community around you. So uh, it's really cool that you joined TEDx, and I hope that's. I mean, you were part of the organizing team, I think,
Yep.
but I hope to see you speak at a TEDx as well if you haven't yet.
Yes, I'm actually planning on applying to speak this year. So TEDx is going to be in a few months. So yeah, and I think this year's theme is beyond. So what comes after you've achieved your goals? Yeah, so that's something that I'm super interested in, and that's something I haven't got to thinking yet because you're often thinking about what your goals are, and how what it takes to achieve them. But the theme of the TED Talk is what happens after. So yeah, I'm super excited to apply and hopefully speak this year if I get selected. Yeah, fingers crossed. So yeah, I'm super excited for that as well.
I'm excited too. So, Uzra, let's finish off this session with one more question
Mhm.
about your future. So, looking ahead, where do you see your curiosity taking you next? Is it diving deeper into biomedical science or neuroscience research, um, going deeper into science communication or communication in general, or somewhere in between, a mix of all those?
Yeah, so I do plan on going deeper into biomedical science, but I want to pursue health data science in the future. And that's something I feel like I would be more inclined to, and the thing that I would want to get a master's degree in as well. And yeah, health data science is basically where we use data-based platforms and mechanisms such as machine learning, programming, statistics, etc., 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 and it intersects between health in general, right? So it uses data from, for example, medical imaging, it certain medical tests. It can be genes, which is large amounts of sequences, and it allows you to kind of identify risks or problems before we can manually even think of them, right? And I think that's so fascinating. We have a tool that allows you to predict diseases and predict pandemics or outcomes before you even get there or before you even think of it. And I feel like that's so intriguing and that's so insane to me that it's even possible. Like, how am I able to do that, right? And the fact that this field is ever growing, it's constantly evolving because we never have enough, right? We the health field in general is constantly, improving, and constantly there's more nuance, there's more techniques, there's more errors, there's more problems, there's just a lot. And health data science kind of effectively curbs that or tries to, resolve certain key issues. And yeah, that's something that I see myself getting into. Of course, I am very much into the biology side of things right now, and I need a lot more training and expertise in the technical side. So I do plan on taking up courses that allow me to aid my master's degree. And yeah, I hope to become a successful health data scientist one day. And I want to use that in the field of neuroscience because neuroscience is so, um, you know, personal to me as well as so interesting. So yeah, that's my future plans for now. I'm not sure if when I'll change my mind, but yeah, for now that is it.
Amazing. It sounds like an exciting future. And I mean, it cannot not be exciting if there's neuroscience involved, definitely. So that's just a biased opinion, but I'm sure you can agree with that, with,
Yep.
you know, with you being so interested in neuroscience yourself. So that brings us to the end of the sixth episode of season two of Across STEM with YSI. Um, Continuing our conversations with the incredible speakers of STEM Quest 3.0, like Uzra. Thank you so much, Uzra, for joining us, even though it's late night in the UAE now, and sharing such a thoughtful exploration of perception of dreams and the hidden work that happens in our brains that we are unaware of and that continues to trick us into these fascinating illusions. Um, Thank you for speaking at STEMQuest about this. And what stands out to me is how, um, like your talk, I mean, you're able to turn moments of distortion into moments of tools for understanding. And you remind us that, confusion isn't the opposite of learning. I mean, you're involved in so much. You're doing some complex research, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that you've been confused about and a lot of material that you've had trouble learning, but um, this is not the opposite of learning. This is the beginning of it often. So keep up what you're doing. I think the research that you're doing that I heard a glimpse of, it's really fascinating. And I'm excited to see what it leads you to do. Also later on as a health data scientist. Um, and yeah, keep being involved in all the extracurricular activities that you're involved in, from speech and debates, TEDx, and so on. And I'm looking forward to seeing you speak at a TEDx as well. So a lot of things, a lot of exciting things ahead for you, and I hope that you'll speak for us again at STEMQuest 4.0 about another topic in neuroscience or a different one. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be a very captivating session. Uzra, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with? Could
Yes,
be
I would just like to
advice.
say I would
Yeah.
just like to say thank you so much, and it's been such a pleasure to be part of Youth STEM Initiative. I think one of the most meaningful things that I've ever come across is Youth STEM Initiative. I think it's such a great platform. It's such a nice feeling to be a part of it as well. And I'm so glad that you guys are doing your best to make such a big difference in the STEM world. And yeah, I would like to leave with the audience with get involved in it, participate as much as you can because it truly gives you so much, and not just in terms of science, but also so much in fulfillment. I think it's such a great platform, and I'm super happy to be part of this organization. It's amazing.
I'm glad that you're part of it too. And yeah, thank you for those thoughts and those kind words. But yeah, it's really communities like this where we get to meet like-minded people. That's how I got to know you, and I'm sure you got to know a lot of other people. That's how I got to learn about a lot of people on this who've been featured on this podcast, and a lot yet to be featured because there are some amazing people in the organization who I would personally also like to learn more about. Um, and yeah, it gives me hope about the future of science and the future of humanity. Seeing all the amazing things that young people like us are doing in STEM to help advance it for the betterment of the world. So keep it up, Uzra. Thank you again for being on this episode, and I look forward to speaking to you soon again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
See you.
Bye bye.